Good evening, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. I hope you're all doing well. My name is Scott, and I am joined by my fantastic co-hosts Philip
Hello.
and Shane.
Ahoy, hoy.
Great. This week we are reading Deadpool Secret Invasion. We've got a lot of people written by Daniel Way, penciled by Paco Medina and Sandu Floria, colours by Marte Gracia, I'm butchering this, letters by VC's Corey Petit and Chris Eliopoulos. Wow, there we go.
Done.
There we go. Wake up, Phil. Wake up.
Do you remember last week when I had to read all the names out on the ticker because you put them in? Paybacks a biatch.
Petit was from last week as well, wasn't he? He
Yeah.
did, Old Man
I call him Petit. But
There we go. But yes, welcome everyone. Let's go ahead and see who we've got in the chat so far. So first in, we've got Liam. Howdy ho. We've got Highland G. Hey everyone. Thank you for joining. Blue Sonic is here. He's doing well. Still here. Still coming. Connie. Yo, how's it going? Thank you for coming. She said she didn't read this one. She couldn't find a copy in time, but she is here to listen in.
can you go back to the previous comment, the Connie one?
Yeah.
It's not, being from Northern Ireland, it's not yee-ho, it's you.
Okay.
Just thought I'd correct
What-
that.
one more
She's
time,
probably
one more time,
laughing at me
sorry?
right now. What?
Do it again. What was it?
You.
All right. We'll sound clip that and do that something with that later. Triple G is here. Sup, chaps. All right. Thank you for joining. And Tottenham Gaming is also here. Before we begin, I'd like to apologise for this week's pick.
You're not forgiven.
And Dominic from the Comic Book Report is also here. Almost made it. You're here on time. We'll count it. You're fine. You're fine.
Before the
Yes.
synopsis, it counts as on time, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. It's just, we're just warming up. It's fine. Some more people have just jumped in. Perpetual Comics, Andy is here, evening, folks. And we also have Chris. I'm off my shelves. There we go. Perfect. This is YouTube birthday today, so happy birthday to you, Chris. Hope everything is going great on the channel. So yes, this today was the Herd's Choice pick by Tottenham Gaming. And yeah, he can't join us today. He's working, right? He's busy, but he is here. He's in the chat. He's with us in spirit.
I think it's a lie. I think he doesn't want to be here because he knows we will torture him for this pick.
Yeah, well, I know you're not happy, from speaking earlier, but let's just go ahead and tell everyone what this book is about. So this book is a 5-issue story, but it's split up into 2 stories, the 3-parter and a 2-parter. The first part is all about the Skrulls and how Deadpool kind of infiltrates them by tricking them into taking his DNA and putting them into Super Skrulls so they can have this awesome regenerative powers. And then it all kind of backfires because his regenerative powers are combating his cancer cells. But if these powers don't have cancer cells to combat, you basically bubble up and explode. You just kind of mutate in a way. And the second part of the story then was, in my opinion, really weird. Was about these. It was about Deadpool trying to retrieve someone's wife that was apparently being held captive, but they were all zombies, and these zombies were the type of zombies that if they ate people, they would then not look like zombies, and they would look like normal people until they got hungry again, and then they would look like zombies.
This is where our fear ship just switches off. Oh, that's the book. Forget about it.
That is the book. That is the book. The one's gone, but that's fine. So yes, I did this wrong last time. Who am I supposed to ask to kick us off? Philip?
Yeah, I think it goes up there.
Yes.
Yeah, you're
Go
top
on then.
right. Yeah.
Come on then, let's go.
Well, we're obviously going to start very negatively because listen, I would never pick up a Deadpool book off my own bat. So the fact that someone's picked this for me was the only way I was going to read this book. Deadpool, enjoyed the first movie. Second movie was rubbish. But as a character, I don't really want to know much more about Deadpool. There's something about the humor is good at in small doses, but when you're reading like this own kind of volume, it's just a little bit too much. Like I don't even know what to say other than the fact that, like, I mean, I think a child could write this book because it is really childish humor and it's not really cleverly put together. And I thought the story overall was a bit meh because, yeah, it's just like even the Skrulls, like they were just so stupid, weren't they? Like these are meant to be this,
Oh
like
yeah.
they're invading Earth, they're going to take over and whatever. But like they were just a bit silly. And I understand there's a place for books like this and people enjoy it. Just for me in general, I didn't. And I had to actually, I only read this today, and I had text Scott and Shane on our regroup. I started reading at like 12 o'clock or something like this, and 12:35, I was all done. Like literally like 30 minutes, and that's all it took to read this book. There's just not a lot to grip me, and it was quite fast. And I was happy to plow through it as fast as I could because
it's not the most substantial book, is it?
no,
No, I
no,
mean, I think you just touched on it there as well. Like, this is a slightly childish book. It's not a serious book. It is just, at the end of the day, it's a bit of fun, isn't it? And there is definitely a book for everyone. There's something out there for everyone, and this must, this must really please some people, especially people who enjoy Deadpool and like following the character. But Shane, you've read like this whole run, haven't you?
Yes, from issue 1 to 1000, the entire run. And no, there are only 63 issues in the run, but there's also an issue 900 and an issue 1000. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a series that got me into Deadpool. I picked this up, I read it. At the time, excuse me, at the time I was reading quite heavy books. It's 2008. There were a lot of world-ending events going on. So to pick up a nice, easy breezy book where you can just read it, have a laugh, have a joke, put it down and not think about it afterwards, I think I needed that at the time. But reading it again, I realized it's not as good as my memory was telling me it was going to be, because I was quite excited to reread this.
So hold on 1 second. Let me understand this, right? So you read these first 5 issues and thought the next 58 is going to be, you dedicated yourself to this whole run. That's just, I'd never want to read Deadpool again for this.
Oh no, you should continue. This is actually a really good run if you continue it. I mean, I'm looking at it through hindsight because I know more than just these 5 issues. It does get a lot better. But yeah, I mean, I did stick with it. But I just enjoyed the character. I enjoyed the silliness of him. Because before this, I hadn't really read much of him on his own. I'd read him in team books. I'd read him in like New Mutants and stuff where he was a lot more serious. So to have this really fun version of him, like the first story I know it wasn't great. The Skrulls weren't shown as the threat that they maybe should be. But the second story, I really enjoyed that. I thought, what a great twist when they captured him and they were like, we're just going to use you as forever food. So the zombies would just eat you and they won't have to eat anyone else.
I enjoyed that as well, but it's also the kind of book, like if you were to get people who don't read comic books, or comic books are for kids, they're silly, blah, blah, blah. If you give them this book to read, that would like emphasize their point. Yeah, this is silly, this is for kids. Like it is clever and funny, but I just don't think it's like a good kind of like, it's weird that you say you start off with Deadpool with this, but I think there's bound to be more about Deadpool than this, what we have here. Now obviously it might get better after issue 5. But the first 5 issues, I'm thinking, I can't do any more of this. And
not a good start.
And I've read Deadpool in other books, especially with the X-Men or X-Force and so on. And Deadpool's been in it, and I've enjoyed him. And he is quite funny. But, again, small doses.
Yeah.
Maybe monthly then. So if you read the issues maybe once a month rather than in a trade.
It's possible if I was subbed to this book every month and I was read it once a month, I might have continued on. In terms of like what you're saying, it's a lesser stakes.
You'd roll your eyes less hard.
Yeah. That's the best way to describe this book. You could roll your eyes less hard if it was monthly.
So Tottenham Gaming, he chose this book, and he says you're meant to be reading it as Deadpool. That's how he sees the Skrulls. So he's kind of saw the Skrulls, and he has little like cartoon children, like children's cartoons characters in it.
And video game characters, and he got points for each one that he killed. Yeah. See, little things like that, I enjoy seeing through the eyes of a madman. Like, because yes, he's crazy. Yes, he's out there. But he's also really smart. I mean, his plan, as crazy and as out there as it was, it worked perfectly. He got them to create an entire new series of Super Skrull. He got the new version of the Super Skrull to kill the old versions of the Super Skrull, leaving them with no Super Skrull.
Yeah.
What a great idea to infiltrate the bad guys.
And the funny part about that is, and you're right, that it is quite clever when you think of it like that. However, he didn't need to do any of that. He was only there to get into the spaceship to kind of download a file. He didn't need to do any of that whatsoever. Completely unnecessary.
That's what makes Deadpool Deadpool, though. Like, he will always go that extra mile.
It was quite funny, like when you do realize, so this was the plan all along, and he just didn't need to do any of that.
Yeah.
And then Nick Fury was like, "What took you so long? Like, why did you take ages?"
It was just the things as well, like the knock knock jokes. When he's like, knock knock, who's there? And he just shoots him in the head. It's like that, and he gets them all to do it to themselves. It's just. Yeah. It's just fun.
It kind of reminds me of, like, I don't really watch a lot of like South Park and Rick and Morty and stuff like that, but I would imagine, and like Family Guy and all those kind of things, that's the kind of humor this is almost, like simple, silly humor. Is that the way
Rick and Morty
shaking your
genius.
Well, I've never watched Rick and Morty. It just looks like something I would never want to watch.
Oh, you need to, mate. Brilliant. Anyway. Dominic said he's read a little over half of this run, and he does agree that it does get better, but he thinks it was absolutely not your vibe, and you may not enjoy the rest. So
fair enough.
So Phil, if it doesn't tickle your pickle, don't read it.
No,
is that Rick and Morty?
No. What?
I know there's pickles involved somewhere, but yeah, that's the thing. Like this book hasn't changed my mind in terms of if Deadpool was rebooting, like as they always do with Marvel, like next month, a new #1 for Deadpool. I'm not going to sub to it. This book hasn't sold me. You know what I mean?
No, that's why I've stopped reading Deadpool. This version of Deadpool does not exist anymore. The voice in his head, that's completely gone. Because that's something that I really, really enjoyed. The fact that he had these two distinct voices in his head, and they didn't know what the other was thinking or was going to say. So he could have a genuine conversation with those voices.
Yeah.
And they
removed that. It was a three-way conversation. I could quite enjoy that. Obviously, he had the yellow box, the white box, and his own speech bubbles, whatever.
Yeah.
So it was like a three conversation. I didn't know they removed that.
Yes, because it turns out that the grey speech box is actually a distinct character who is living inside Deadpool, and they separate him.
Oh, this just gets worse. You mentioned that.
Sounds a bit complicated.
That's when I stopped. I was like, no, I'm done.
Let's get to the art.
Yes.
Shane, what did you think?
I was lovely and clean.
Totally.
I just thought it was really, really clean. Like, I was surprised. I didn't remember it being that clean. You always think Deadpool be a bit mucky, a bit grimy, but this was so clean, and the faces were absolutely gorgeous. I mean, not his, but everyone else's face was absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I've got no issues at all with the art. Maybe a little bit of over exaggeration with boobs, but apart from that, nothing. Everything was great.
Yeah, the art, to be fair, I mean, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't spectacular either. It was fine. And you're right with there was a few panels that had women, some of them wearing very little clothes, and you're right, it's definitely over embellished in certain areas. But
I like that in my books.
Yeah, but this was 2009. Is that right? It's not that long ago, but you almost expect those kind of big boobs to like the 90s or something, But listen, it wasn't throughout the whole book. I mean, a couple panels, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Again, though, that can just be how Deadpool sees them. They might not look like that at all. They might just be complete plain Janes.
Well, Scott touched on earlier on. I did like whenever the Skrulls, he thought they were asking for his autograph, and the way he's picturing them. But obviously, he's like, "Am I daydreaming again? Have I drifted off?" or whatever he said.
Yeah.
But then, whenever he was talking to Nick Cage, and I had like a cartoon version of Nick Cage, and it's like Nick Cage, like, we need you, Deadpool. You're the only one who could save us, blah blah blah, whatever. And I like the way he was kind of put on the page as well, and that's obviously what we've seen in a lot of the women he was with as well. So you're right, maybe this is how Deadpool sees things or expects to do things, because as we all know, Deadpool's in the movies, is fond of a bit of over sexualization of stuff as well. So yeah, maybe that's why you see the girls in this book.
I like to think they would have made it very clear that it was, we would know it was his vision. Like, we were seeing what he was seeing, because, you see the very cartoony characters, but then, the women aren't that kind of style, if you know what I mean. So maybe they did just look like that, or maybe it is just open to interpretation. Yeah.
You look at this word in every week, nice, Scott.
Yeah, that's my word of the show. But yeah, with the art, it was great, and like, it looked stunning, but I feel like there's not a lot to talk about with it. It's great that they did the way that he saw stuff, and it's great that everything was nice and clean. But then what?
My issue with the art as well, if you think about it, so we've got it on the ticker here. Paco Medina, Sandu, well, I can't pronounce all the names, but in terms of like the colorists, the two pencilers and the inkers, there's a lot of people involved in the art.
I know, yeah.
To be very non-spectacular, if you know what I'm trying to say. So it's like, if you're going to have a lot of people doing the art, the pencils and the inks and the colors, it should be a bit more about it, because I don't know, if I was an artist, I think I could do all that myself.
Yeah.
Like, why isn't it 3 or 4 people to do it?
No, that's true.
It did make picking a page a little bit tricky, because there would, like you say, nothing really jumped out at you. There was no amazing splash panel, nothing. It was just very, very serviceable and pleasant to look at. It's perfectly consistent throughout the entire book.
Yeah. Should we get onto our pages?
Yes.
Let's do that. Tottenham Gaming, I know you're in the chat, so we'll go through our pages first, but could you just let us know why you've chosen your page? Because we've got yours as well. So let us know why you've chosen yours, and we'll do ours first, and then we'll get to yours. So, Philip, we'll go with you. Here is yours.
Yeah, well, this was at the very start. It shows how much effort I put into picking my page. I just, I'll take that one. And this is the thing. This is the style of art throughout. It's nothing spectacular. It's not, overly detailed or anything like that. But the reason I picked this page is just because this was pretty cool, I suppose. More along the lines that the Skrulls had detected non-human matter, or whatever way they termed it. Yeah. And then they found this animal. Obviously, it was the mascot, and the point where they were even like analyzing the beads in the costume. Yeah. And here we are, Deadpool, who was wearing the costume, the beads flowing out of his belly. That's been riddled with bullet holes, and he's just like, how do you say such and such in Skrull? And I just thought it was just really a really cool kind of way to introduce yourself to kicking some ass. And I mean, again, the art isn't overly fantastic. There's nothing overly detailed. It's just a cool, fun page for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good way to introduce a new reader to the character, isn't it? Like, hidden in a really weird mascot costume, totally fine after being shot with a lot of bullets, and then just asking, how do you say this in your language? And it's just, it really sums up the character and tells new readers exactly what kind of character this is as well.
Should add as well, I think it's straight after the next few pages, that the Skrulls actually use the term in their language
like 3 times.
With it like blows and translated from Skrull. Yeah, and it's just that kind of stuff I do appreciate. I do quite like, and that's that reveal there at the start. That's what stood out to me.
Yeah. Shane, we'll go on to yours. Here we go.
Yeah. So, like I said, I love my lovely ladies in my books.
So this was
I picked this
Sorry.
second issue of the second part of the story, so issue 5. Deadpool's been captured. He's in the stocks. They're going to eat him. And the zombie surgeon brings in all his zombified nurses to come and chow down on Deadpool. And I really like the design of the zombies. I'm a sucker for zombies in any form of media. I just love zombies. And then if you give me sexy nurse zombies, it's just like, whoa.
My question is, right, I don't mean to be offensive, right? So whenever they start to draw this, what body part do you think they start with? Like, what's the most important part of their... Like, it seems to be that
two circles. You draw the number 8 on the page, and then you draw a face.
That's what I mean. I think that it's just like they don't. Obviously, there is detail throughout the whole body, but it's like they really want you to see this, so they draw.
He is a surgeon, though. He is a plastic surgeon, so like none of it's real. Do you know what I mean? Like they are overemphasized on the beautiful parts of a lady. Like because she said she went there to get the work done. Mm-hmm. The husband couldn't afford it, so she stayed behind to pay in kind. And I'm assuming he worked on the nurses as well and gave them all the same. Do
you think this was before they were zombies or after? That'd be weird.
Before?
I would assume before, but then who knows with this book? You know, it's hard to tell.
Yeah. No one knows. There we go. Yeah, great page. Great page. Yeah, is cool. Very emphasized there. Let's move on to mine. So this is in the third issue where Deadpool is basically unveiling his master plan to the Skrull super scientist about how his regenerative power works, and you can just see it unfolding now with all of the Deadpool Skrulls kind of bubbling and mutating a little bit and just not being able to deal with the regenerative. I cannot say that word. Regenerative powers, but it's such a very nice page the way it's been drawn. Like we said before, very clean. Colors are great, and visually, there's nothing bad to say about it.
I just noticed that when I read that page, the one thing I was expecting was to see them burst. Yeah, and you didn't see that, but then I just realized there's obviously splats on the last 2 panels on Deadpool's face, which I didn't notice at the time. But I feel like we should have seen the splatter, because I mean, it's supposed to be quite gross to draw. It's like green pussy splat, I suppose. But,
yeah. nothing like a green pussy splat. Oh. Nope. Okay, and then so we've got Tottenham Gaming's page as well. So here it is, and he's put in the comments here. I won't click it up. So he says he's picked the page because it perfectly sums up Deadpool in terms of craziness and how smart he is, and it shows how gullible the Skrull are. So for anyone listening on the podcast, this is where he is training all of the Deadpool Skrulls with is this the knock knock joke part?
Yeah,
and then he teaches them to just shoot each other in the head, just for a laugh. It is funny, and it was a part I did enjoy in the book.
I did wonder though, when they were all being born, how did they all come out in the same costume that he's wearing?
Yeah, and where did the swords from?
Yeah, they had exactly the same costumes. Did they plan that?
I just assumed they were just made.
Well, the Skrulls, can they form?
Oh, they can shapeshift, can't they?
Yeah. So can they? But then I don't know if it would work with like items like the samurai swords. But here, it's a comic book. It doesn't need to explain, I suppose, in too much depth. But I mean, that is one of the things I thought of. I go, where do all the costumes from? It's just that's convenient that they just happen to have a suitcase of.
Target around the corner. They just went to the Halloween aisle and grabbed all the Deadpool costumes.
Yeah. Oh dear.
So those are our pages. For anyone else who's read the book, if you have a favorite page, do let us know. But yeah, I think I like just to reiterate, I don't think there was anything massively standout-ish for the art in this book. It was all very
No.
consistent. It was all very, very nice looking, and I think that's why there wasn't anything standoutish, because everything looked the same and just as good as everything else.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's drawn bad, but
No.
nothing stood out.
Yeah, it's all pleasant on the eye, I suppose. But you're right. I don't even think the story allowed for something to be spectacular in terms of like, there's no big, apart from the reveal where he came out the mascot costume. There's no big kind of explosion or something really overly dramatic, or that kind of thing that allowed the artist to put a bit more detail into something. But
Right.
it was pleasant to look at, but not overly phenomenal.
No. Yeah. And I think Dominic just hits it on the head there. He goes, from your tones alone, you can tell the general opinion of this was meh.
It's fair. I mean,
was.
It's not the worst thing we've ever read. It's not, Doctor Strange or what was that other book, Witchblade. It's not that level.
Still getting flashbacks.
And it didn't take up too much time. Like you said, it took you like half an hour to read it. So it's not like you were there reading 12 issues of this.
Yeah. And Liam made a good point there too, which I found actually quite annoying when you're reading one volume, but there was two separate stories.
Yeah, so Liam said, what was the reasoning behind bundling these two stories in a volume? As this was my first Deadpool book, it just didn't make sense to me.
I think because the first story was only 3 issues and you don't really bring out a trade with 3 issues, I think it would have worked better had they put maybe a one-shot in there with Deadpool, or maybe a reprint of his first appearance or something, to pad it out. But to put the next 2 parts of another story, because it's my pet peeve, isn't it? Where if I don't read a trade, if it's not one complete story, I get annoyed, because you pick up that trade to read that story. It's called Secret Invasion, but only the first 3 issues are Secret Invasion. The next 2 are completely different.
So were you annoyed?
Reading it as a trade, because obviously first time around I read it in single issues.
Yeah.
So that was absolutely fine for me.
Yeah.
If I pick up 3 issues and it's a 3-issue story, that's great. Reading it as a trade, I didn't expect it to stop. I had totally forgotten that it was 2 separate stories. So when issue 4 started, I was like, what's this?
Going on?
You see, my thinking about that is
the middle of the book.
My thinking along those lines is, again, I'm not trying to like diss the character too much, because I know there are people who really love Deadpool. I just think that maybe there's not a lot of trust there for Deadpool to carry a 5 or 6 issue story arc, so they make it smaller. You know what I mean?
No,
you know what I mean?
Because later on there are full stories that come out that are proper length. I think what it is, I think this came out at slightly the wrong time for an issue 1, because they were building to the Dark Avengers and they wanted to tie him into that. But it was too late. They didn't. If they'd have done it 2 months before, they could have padded it for 5 issues. They brought him out with 3 issues for the build-up to Dark Avengers.
Yeah, Tottenham Vision says that as well. He says Volume 2 carries on part of the story he thinks, because the next volume is another tie-in with Dark Avengers.
I love Shane's knowledge of Marvel at the minute. He's just for a guy who does not like Marvel, he knows an awful lot about these random books like Dark Avengers and so on.
This is from 2008 when I was a Marvel fan.
When he was naive.
When I didn't know any better.
So what did you think of the story? What did you think of the story
overall?
Like the writing? Yeah, which one? Yeah, both of them. Yeah, like okay, the writing. The dialogue, like in his head. What did we think of that as a whole?
I love that. That was the biggest draw for me. Because I've read books with crazy people. You've had I've read Harlequin where she talks to herself and stuff. But to have a voice in your head that you have no idea what they're gonna say or what they're thinking. And to have 2 of them, so you can sit there and just have a full-on conversation like he does at the start of the second story. He's just sat on his bomb chair, talking to the voices in his head, moaning that he's got no money. And then the 3 of them come up with a plan to get money. That was the biggest draw for me. I think that's what drew me to this version of Deadpool.
Being a brand new reader to Deadpool, that wasn't very well described what was happening in his head. I didn't quite understand why there was 2 different coloured boxes at first, and it took me a while to actually grasp, these are voices and these are 2 separate voices. So I would have liked that to be literally like spoon-fed to me to explain what is that. But then you just say it once, and then I know for the rest of the story. But it just took me maybe up until the first issue just to realize
Yeah.
what this was.
Did you
I
think
was
it
the
was like an
same.
earpiece or something?
Yeah, I didn't quite understand like what I didn't know if it was like usually if we see the square boxes, it's a thought process, but there were two different coloured ones, and I was like, what's going on? I didn't understand. I was like, because all of his speech is like in this kind of yellowy browny speech bubble, isn't it? And that's something
Yeah.
I want to talk about as well, because I don't know why that's a thing. And then you've got the white dialogue boxes, and I'm like, so is that in his head? Is that in his ear? Like, I've got a clue.
I was the exact same because you're right. Usually that happens. It's like a thought process or it's conversation happening off page. Like
Yeah, yeah,
the person that's in the panel. So I was wondering who is this? Who's speaking and where are they? What
yeah.
what they have to do? And it wasn't until like you're right a few times where it happened, thinking, okay, now it's clicked that it's the voice in his head. But yeah, like you mentioned there before, and that's something I've always wondered with Deadpool, because all his books are like this, with the speech bubbles, yellow and brown colors. And I think he's the only person I can think of, other than Venom, who has black and white. I think like Deadpool like just has like yellow and brown, which kind of
But
doesn't
why?
really. Yeah, I don't understand why. I haven't been brutally honest.
Shane, do you know this with your
Or I
massive Marvel knowledge?
was gonna say, yeah, or the
Why they're two
Marvel
different?
Oracle.
Why they're two different coloured speech bubbles?
No,
Oh,
why
so
is it yellow and brown?
why is Deadpool's his voice when he speaks? Why is the speech bubble like a yellowy brown?
Oh, I have no idea. That's just
Is it
always
some?
his speech bubble. It's just everything he's in. Whenever he guest stars in something, he's got. Maybe it's just
Oh,
his
we've
voice
got
is a different tone.
we've got some wisdom here from Earthworm Grimm, otherwise known as Stone Cold Comics. He says the two voices have different personalities. The yellow is silly, and the white is sensible. So, is he the only silly character in the whole of the Marvel universe? Like,
We've got slapstick.
but does he have
Who?
yellow speech bubbles?
I'm not sure.
This is
Actually,
what I
now
don't
you've
get.
said it, I might have to go back and check.
Why have they just done this? Silly. Yeah, Tottenham Gaming. He's saying it's a nothing story, but it's a bit of fun until things get sad and you start to feel sorry for him. Did that happen?
No. He's talking about further on down the line.
Future stuff. Okay, fair enough. And Liam said, my first ever exposure to Deadpool was the 2013 game, and while the game wasn't great, they got the character of Deadpool spot on, including the humour and the voices in his head. And it's later on said that Nolan North voiced Deadpool. Nolan North is a great voice actor anyway.
He voiced Deadpool in the Spider-Man cartoon as well, which is my favourite episode of that whole series.
Who is he?
We played the Uncharted games.
Yeah.
He's he's Nathan Drake. He's a voice actor.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
Nolan North. Brilliant
Cool,
voice actor.
cool.
Cool. Anything else on the story, on the writing, on any aspect of that?
I mean, I think the whole thing is purposely infuriating, like in terms of even his interaction with Nick. Did I say Nick Cage earlier on? I meant Nick Fury. Or did I say Nick Fury? Nick Fury.
Yeah.
I just think like obviously he would irritate the hell of people, and it done it to me as a reader as well. He was quite irritating. Listen, it was fun. You could switch off. Like literally had to switch your brain off to read this and enjoy it for what it is. But at the time, I do wonder who buys the books. I'll say it that like who would buy these. I know you did, and I feel bad for it. I just like. I just can't see Deadpool being a seller, if I'm being honest. Like, for all the books that come out on Wednesday, there's going to be dozens ones ahead of it. Do you know what I mean? There's something about Deadpool I don't get. Maybe it's to do with my lack of knowledge of Deadpool, because I don't really know, other than the movie, I don't know the origin, or any different ways the origin was played out. And even the idea that, like, why does he have voices in his head? Like, was that before he became Deadpool? Like,
No,
was he that crazy?
He was driven crazy through the experimentation.
Okay. That's fine.
All right, okay. Highland G coming in with some expert knowledge. So it's because his voice is distinctive, and the yellow rather than the white is to indicate his voice would stand out in a crowd.
All I can hear is Ryan Reynolds when I'm reading it. I was reading it in his voice because I think he's also because of the movie, I think that's Deadpool for me from now on. I'll never hear any other voice for
Yeah.
Deadpool.
No,
And
I agree there.
the game I was referring to, I've played the game after the movie, and the voice is terrible. Even though you're
Oh
talking about
no.
Nolan North, no, I didn't.
Oof.
Again, it's just because I'm used to the
Wait.
Ryan Reynolds voice.
Trigger warning.
Sorry,
Sorry, Shane.
sorry.
The trigger warning there.
Don't at me.
Yeah, more questions then. Maybe the yellow speech is tied to him being able to break the fourth wall, part dialogue, part narrator. Is he like in this
Maybe.
halfway space between his reality and our reality? It's a lot to think about just because of a different coloured speech bubble.
You put it up.
Yeah, and I'm
It's
glad
an
I
important
have.
part to talk about, I think.
Yeah. One thing I was a bit disappointed about in this story was the fact that they just recycled how his power would get him out of a situation in both of the stories. So, well, not out of the situation, but so, in the Skrull bit, it was, all the Skrulls would start to expand and blow up because they couldn't handle his power. And then with the second story, when they were trying to eat him, they thought he tasted disgusting.
That was funny though.
And that's because of his power, right? Or was that because of his cancer? And I just don't understand. But I don't know. I just wasn't impressed. I just thought, okay, this is another. It just sounds really similar to what has just happened 2 issues ago. Shane, you're looking at me as if like, what's he on about?
I mean, I get that his power saved him each time, but that's kind of how comic books work. Your
Yeah.
powers get you out of your situation.
Yeah, but
No, but this is the thing.
The
You're,
first one, Skrulls exploded. Second one, they tried to eat him, didn't like the taste of him because he's riddled with cancer. I mean, it's not the same. They were going to use him as forever food, but they couldn't eat him because he tasted rancid.
yeah, I just assumed that was because of his power. That's all. I don't know.
Oh no, that would be because of
Because of the cancer.
for the idea that his flesh, obviously, it's not. I don't think it was a cancer. Like they're tasting the cancers. Also, the regenerative cells, flesh. And I suppose, like, not that I think about what flesh would taste like, but I'd imagine if you were constantly regenerate new flesh, it's not going to be nice to taste.
Wouldn't it taste fresh?
Like artificial, like
yeah, or like artificial, yeah, like clinical, like scientific or something. You know what I mean? It's just so I thought it was quite clever. The fact that they done it like that, and the zombies refused to eat them. It's like, we're zombies, but we won't eat that.
Tottenham Gaming, he's saying you find out why he's got the voice in his head in the later issue in an 80s and 90s flashback with Poolfro?
Yeah, he gets a big afro.
Oh, right. Okay, cool. And we've got Earthworm Grim as well saying maybe your speech bubble is just full of wee like that one time in I Hate Fairyland.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally possible. The fact, this was a tie-in, right? The Skrull story was a tie-in to the whole, I'm assuming, to the Secret Invasion.
The Secret Invasion.
Yeah. I didn't think it was too bad on its own. I thought, you could read this on its own, and it's, you understand, the Skrulls are coming, and it could just be a bit of fun if you were reading the full story of the Secret Invasion. But if you weren't bothered about the Secret Invasion and you just wanted Deadpool, then I feel like that is also fine. And I didn't have a problem. I didn't feel like I needed to catch up on loads of stuff or go back to a little bit of like background reading.
Yeah,
it was. I thought it was fine. It was quite.
I think you're right with the Secret Invasion. I haven't read it myself, but I can imagine it's a big, wide event covering a lot of books.
Yeah,
and obviously the main book is all the tie-ins, and sometimes they could be too much to really read and enjoy. Where this is just a wee spin-off. Well, just all the Skrulls are here. Here's a Deadpool number 1. Just fire them in. We'll just do a little stupid story that people will either love or hate, and it doesn't really mean anything. It's just a bit of fun, and take it from there. The only thing I will say, again, having not read Secret Invasion, I would assume the Skrulls should be this big menacing force.
Yeah.
Where they were really, really stupid in this title, as well as obviously
It was
Go ahead.
just one ship, though. This could be the ship of the lesser brainy Skrulls, the dumber ones.
I know, but it just seems like I don't know, like they were just too dumb. You're
Well, they
you're
didn't
right.
really know much about Earth, did they? So, like, Deadpool was this brand new thing to them. They couldn't even scan him and figure out what he was. So it makes sense that he would completely throw them off guard if they were expecting the X-Men or the Avengers or the Fantastic Four, and Deadpool shows up. You're not really going to know what to do with him, are you?
No.
But then because of that, I would assume that because it's an unknown entity, they're a bit more what's the word I'm looking
Cautious?
for? Sorry,
Cautious?
not even like they're a bit more fierce.
Yeah,
Like
right,
they
okay.
wouldn't invite him on the ship. But do you mind training our new super soldiers? Do you know what I mean? They would put him in a prison cell for months or years and torture him and beat him, whatever. They done none of that. They just invited him in, train our super soldiers, please. And then
They did have him. They did have him tied up for a while.
but he got himself out for it. He even got his own
For like
hand
2
out of the
pages.
chains. Do you know what I mean? It's just like I understand they can't have him tortured or anything for the whole length of the book, but it just all seemed quite silly in terms of. I'd like to think if there was an alien invasion in the world that somebody like Deadpool can't just talk them out of it. You know, I don't know. It was odd.
Blue Sonic is saying, as his first Deadpool read, he didn't feel like this was a great jumping on point, but he would give a different run a try as he does like the character. And Highland G is recommending for anyone who is interested in reading Deadpool to read the Dugan run. Duggan?
Jerry
How do you say
Dugan.
it? Dugan, yeah. Just the main run though, not World's Greatest. Okay, so if you are interested in the character, go ahead and read that. I don't know what else to say, boys. This is
What story did you like better out of the two?
the first one. I like the
second
Skrulls
one
better.
I like the second one better because I love zombies.
I thought the concept of zombies that looked normal after eating a bit and then turning back into zombie-looking people if they didn't eat as much, I found that a bit silly. I tried to explain this to a guy I work with today, and he was like, "Oh right, okay, those kind of zombies then." It was a bit of a silly concept, I think.
I like the both stories. The fact that they both had kind of twists in their own kind of way. You obviously with the Skrulls not being able to handle the regeneration because they didn't have cancer, and then obviously with the vampires that he made a deal with Seek. Or no, he made a deal with what was the guy's name for his name now? The Doctor. So Seek came, but then he gave him 100 bodies to deal with. But then he used his Semtex chair to blow them all up. Like there's a twist. There's only twist. There's only way. I quite like that. But again, I do think I like the second story slightly better than the Skrulls story.
Okay.
Yeah, cause the second one shows you what kind of person Deadpool is. Because when he gets there, and they think he's a zombie, so they put him in a cell with the other zombies, and the guys burst in and shoot the police or the townspeople to get Deadpool out, and he doesn't agree with killing innocent people, so like he kills them because they killed the innocent people. So it sort of it gives you a little bit of insight into where his moral compass is and the fact that he has one.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do learn more about his morals. But I've got someone backing me up. Liam's here. Definitely enjoyed the Skrull story more.
He was always going to back you up. He would always back you up.
Liam's my boy. Yeah, I mean, they both touch on very different things. The first one is a bit of fun, and you're just learning about the fun, idiotic side of the character, and then the second one, yeah, you do have some more morals and more deep thinking from the character, and a chair made out of C4. Semtex, sorry.
Semtex.
Yeah. C4's the cheap
C4's
one,
the cheap stuff.
Yeah. Shall we get into scores, or do you want to say anything else?
There's not a lot more to add, I suppose. With like I said, it took half an hour to read this book for me today, and we've talked about it longer than it took me to read it. So
fair play. So okay, we'll just talk about the fact that this is the Herd's Choice book from Tottenham Gaming. If you guys are interested in getting your book featured on the Nerd Herd and you want to have a chance to jump on with us and talk about your choice as well. Then watch the third show of each wave, and you can vote, and we'll put your name on a spinning wheel, and then whatever it lands on, that's the book that wins. You get some swag, which Shane is holding there, and you get the option to join us as well. So yeah, just a heads up for any newbies that jump in watching this as well. But yeah, okay, let's get onto some scores then, is it? Everyone in the comments, do let us know what you've thought of this book. Out of 10, please, and we will add them all up shortly. And then we're going to tell you what we've got coming up in the next wave, which is always fun and exciting. So, Phil, do you want to kick us off? What did you think?
I mean, I did start the show quite negatively. I think I needed to be in the right frame of mind to read this, and that was to dumb myself down slightly, which is really hard to do when you're super intelligent.
When you're super smart, yeah.
Yeah, but I think, I mean, it is fun. It's a fun story, but it can never be more than that. I don't think it's very hard to get, deep. We mentioned kind of the moral code of Deadpool in the second story. It's hard to kind of flesh that out in this book, really, this volume. I don't know. I don't know what to say. The art was fine. It was clean. It was nice. It wasn't overly fantastic. The stories were entertaining to a certain point. I can only take so much of the humor. So 5 issues in a short space of time was a bit much for me. But I didn't hate the book. I'd be wrong to say hated it. I didn't hate it. It was fine. I just feel like you need to be in the mood, and this hasn't convinced me to go read any more Deadpool. I'm not going to sub to any new Deadpool book. I'm not going to pick anything up Deadpool unless somebody just puts one in front of me and goes, read this book. And that's what happened today, I suppose, with this, that we had to read this book. I don't know. I haven't got a score written down because I didn't really know what to do. Yeah. I'm going to play it safe, right? It's not bad. It's not good. It's right bang in that middle. 5. I'm giving it a 5.
Okay. All right, a 5 so far. We got some scores in the chat. I'm sure there's a few more. Blue Sonic, we know you've read the book. You got to give us a score. Liam as well. We know you've read it, so give us a score as well. But Shane, what did you think?
Like you said, the art is perfectly fine throughout. It's really nice to look at. I feel really bad saying fine because it's not just fine. It's really nice to look at, but it is fine art. I think it's a little bit better than the story. I think this art should be somewhere else, really, for me. The story, yeah, it's fun. It's silly. You can read the first 3 issues, put it down, come back an hour later, read the next 2. They don't tie in. Really fun. Phil read it in half an hour, so it's not a long read. I still giggled and chuckled with Deadpool being ridiculous, and when he went to walk away and he remembered, oh, I haven't beat you to death yet, and he turns back around and just starts kicking the crap out of that Skrull. It did make me chuckle. I'm not gonna lie. I did have fun reading it. I know it's not earth-shattering. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. If someone said read Deadpool book, which should I read, I'd say read Deadpool Max. Fantastic mini series, gorgeous art, great story. This is not recommendable, but I did read on, so I know what's to come. But just scoring on this book, to be fair, it's a 6.5.
Okay, great.
So I can't score it on what I know is to come, which is sad because then it would be a bit higher.
Okay, fair enough. So the scores we've got in so far in the chat, we've got Tottenham Gaming. He's given it a 7. Okay, thank you very much. Dominic, he's given it a 6.5, doing it from memory. Earthworm Grim says a 6. It's a fun start of the series, but not much more. Liam, he's saying this is an awkward one, as it's 2 stories in 1 volume. It was fun, quick, easy reading, but the 2 different stories put him off, made it feel disjointed. 5 out of 10. And then Blue Sonic, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. A fun read, so I'll give it a 6. Okay, so that's what we got so far. You guys have all nailed it on the head there. The art is fine, and Shane, it is strange saying just fine, but then I'm trying to think, there aren't really much movements going on in each panel. Everything felt a bit static. It looked great, but everything was just, very still pictures. Nothing really looked like a lot of movement was happening. visually wonderful and very pretty, but yeah, there was something lacking, and I think we've all struggled to put our finger on it, really. Story, the stories were fun. We see these different sides of Deadpool, and yes, it is a laugh, and I'm glad that we can talk about the stuff now and just giggle over some of the stuff that we've seen in this book. And it does show that it's not a bad book, but it's not the best book either. And I am going to give it a 6 out of 10.
So we're all in the same ballpark, roughly.
Yeah, pretty much. Let me just do a quick maths. Okay, so with the scores from the audience, we got 6.5, a 7, 2 6s, and a 5. That averages out to 6.1. We add that 6.1 to Phil's 5, my 6, and Shane's 6.5, and we get an average of 5.9.
Ooh.
That's what we have altogether. So let's go ahead and take a look where that is on the leaderboard. Surprise, surprise. There we go. So it is coming in last place at the moment, just after Kaiju Score. So
but it is in the top 10.
Yeah, it's 7th place. It's 7th place at the moment. So yeah, there we go. Fantastic. So yeah, Tottenham Gaming, thank you very much for choosing that. I'm not sure Phil is too pleased, but
I feel like, to be fair, again, not knowing much about the character, I feel like Deadpool has a ceiling. Like, you can't go much above it.
yeah.
I can't see any Deadpool book being a 7, 8, 9, 10 ranking ever.
I will send you a book that you will think that.
Oh, really? I'm open to have my mind changed on the character, I suppose. But yeah, I think it's a fair score, really.
Yeah, me too. I think 5.9 is okay, yeah. But that's not it. We're going to tell you guys what we've got coming up next. Please bear in mind, if anyone have their TV turned up quite loud or headphones on, I will warn you, this may get a bit loud. But this is what we've got coming up for Wave 3. So there we go. We have got Slayer Volume 1, Klaus, The New Adventures of Santa Claus, Bite Sized, and The Herd's Choice. And if you hadn't guessed already, it's going to be Christmas month.
Christmas?
Yay!
Yay! It's going to be
Santa! I know him.
It's going to be absolutely fantastic, and we cannot wait. And we're really hoping you guys join us for all of those. So let's just take a little bit more of a look about the book we've got coming up next week, which is Slayer. I'm really looking forward to that as a book, and it seems like a lot of people are up for it as well. So Dominic, he said, never heard of any of these. This should be a good month. Dominic, if you want to read along, go ahead and read the first Klaus book before you read this one, because this is the second book. So go ahead and read the first one.
And then go back and watch our thoughts on it from last year.
Yes, and it's going to be great. It's going to be great. I'm so looking forward to Klaus, man. But I'm
looking forward to Slayer now, because it's like Santa and heavy metal put together. It's just like, I mean, it could be a disaster. We could be having a 4 to 10 book here, but it's just Santa.
It's only 4 issues, so a nice quick read.
That's only 10 minutes for you, Phil.
Yeah. I'm a slow reader too. That just shows how bad this book really was. But yeah, Klaus. I mean, we all loved Klaus last year.
Amazing.
And this is also the second part. I'm really looking forward to Klaus, because I think it's a book I'll read every year for the rest of my days.
Yeah, same. Klaus was in our top 10 from last year, wasn't it? So I'm really hoping that this one can match it. Klaus isn't going to be a story like it was for the first book. This is just 2 big one shots.
Yeah.
That's all this is.
It's
gonna
the
be, but-
Adventures of Santa Claus, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
called.
But nevertheless, I cannot wait. All of the books look awesome. I've had a quick peek at some of the art and stuff, and they all look fantastic. But yes, that's it from us. Thank you, everyone. All of these videos will be going live on YouTube very shortly for you to get scheduled for. And don't forget, if you've enjoyed, which I probably doubt it, if you've enjoyed the sound of this book, the Amazon link is in the description for you to go ahead and buy the money. We get some of the money from that, and we all put it back into you as the herd. And the links are going to be in the descriptions for the books that we've got coming up for Christmas month as well. It's going to be fantastic. But yeah, guys, any updates on our channels? Do you want to go through, Philip?
I'll maybe make something for next week myself, but I can't promise things. Sorry.
That's fine. Shane, quiz?
Yes, Dawn of Comics Quiz Night 14 will premiere on Monday at 7 p.m.
Ooh, Monday.
I haven't put it up yet. It's rendering. I need to upload it. But yes, Monday at 7 for the next quiz.
Great. And for me, in the next week or so, I am planning on doing my November haul video as well. So nothing major, just a little something to keep the channel ticking over. But that's it. But the last and final thing to do before we get to Christmas is to get our pre-Christmas waves out. There it is. So that's a pre-Christmas wave. Totally different to a Christmas wave.
So next week they'll make a jingle bell sound when we wave, will they?
Oh,
yeah.
Challenge.
Yeah, really good. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Love you.